Two workers have just completed a finish coat on the landing in the foreground. Now they are preparing to finish coat the landing below. The landings are 15 feet wide by 8 feet deep. The landing is 15 feet wide by 82 inches deep. Each of the 4 landings in this staircase had some form of damage to be repaired before the finish coat: scratches, gouges, surface spalling, divots, drainage problems, and so forth. The darker area at the right side of the landing is an overlay that corrected a drainage problem. The worker on the left is putting on a pair of masonry spike shoes in order to be able to walk on the surface and to make it easier to finish very close hand. The spike shoes are not completely necessary, of course, but they do make it easier to move from one area to another without making a mess. The slurry for the finish coat is in the white 5-gallon pail on the landing. Pay close attention to the consistency of the slurry as it's poured out. The worker on the right is going to prime the area to be coated with water. The water is in a garden sprayer fitted with a valve stem, and it is pressurized with a portable air tank. The overlay will take more water to prime than the original concrete next to it. This is a warm summer day in Denver, Colorado, late in the afternoon, low humidity, and air temperatures around 85 to 90 degrees. The finisher is using a broom to spread out the water primer, making sure that it's not too wet in one area or too dry in another. This will help assure that the mix design is not compromised by too much water on the surface, or the bond is not compromised by too little water. Now the landing is primed and ready for application of the Fusion Crete 2 modified slurry. The slurry mix pours a lot like thick paint or thin pancake batter. If the slurry becomes too thick to pour or spread during the process, simply add more Fusion Crete 2 premix and stir in thoroughly to maintain an even consistency during the process. The slurry can be spread by broom or by squeegee, but if you use a broom to spread, it's good to have another broom for finishing. It's important to spread the slurry over the surface while it's properly primed. Now the finisher is going to continue spreading and pulling the slurry toward the left end of the landing, the object being to coat all of the surface and to continue to pull off the extra slurry to the point where it can be finished with a final broom stroke. During this process, it's important to have an area that's primed onto which you will pull the extra slurry so that you don't pull slurry onto a dry surface. The worker who is priming with water is taking the sprayer down to pressurize it with a portable air tank. Sprayers can be pumped by hand, of course, but if you're going to do a lot of finish coating, it really helps to have a sprayer that's fitted with a valve stem and a portable air tank to pressurize it. The finisher is continuing to pull extra slurry toward the left side of the landing until just the right amount is left to apply the finished strokes. Tapping extra slurry out of the broom head is very important to get a good finish stroke. If while applying the final strokes the slurry becomes sticky, a light mist of water can be applied to get the right consistency to get a good finished stroke. The small sprayer that the finisher is picking up is also good for that. The right side of the landing is becoming a little bit dry to do the finish strokes. Another method to help with that is just add a little extra slurry. The finisher is making a pass with a little extra slurry in order to make the final strokes come out just right. The finish passes are overlapped by about 2 to 4 inches. To get a nice straight line, the handle is dragged and held low. Here is an example where the slurry has become too dry to apply the finished stroke. The finisher spreads it back, picks up the water sprayer, and gives it a very light mist, just to release the surface tension enough to do the finished stroke. It's important to remember that the degree of moisture you can apply depends on the weather conditions. He's washing the broom head in a wallpapering tray with water in it. You can purchase them at almost any paint supply store. The outer edge of the landings and stairs have a metal traction strip cast into them. The traction strip has been masked to keep slurry off of it. The worker on the right is detailing off extra slurry from the masking to make it easy to strip the masking. And now the finisher will take the short-handled broom and blend the left side of the landing into the right. Remember, when misting the surface for release, use the least amount of moisture to get the desired result. The finisher is taking care to clean the broom head, as this will make it much easier to blend these passes. Now the pass closest to the camera will be completed by pulling the opposite direction and lifting the broom at the seam. A very light mist of water will be added to blend the passes at the seam. As you can see, the finisher continues to make sure there's a fresh coating of slurry and to pull the extra slurry out to the edge of the landing where it can be removed. Finish brooms are very important tools, and it's good to keep them as clean as you can. It's much better to remove extra slurry because trying to spread it out almost never results in a good-looking finish. The total material cost on the second landing was $22.54. Well, that's it. The top landing has already achieved initial set, and the second landing was finish coated in about 26 minutes.